In IMSA Vintage, close fights for the lead have once again become the norm, with the lead in both classes closely contested last week at Mosport. But as we roll into the first endurance race of the season, will our drivers have mastered the relatively new confines of Willow Springs? Or will we see off tracks into the dirt to find the day? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 5 of the iRacing IMSA Vintage series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and with me in the booth is Craig King. Our director is the boss man Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Willow Springs is a relatively new addition to the iRacing calendar, and to find out what makes this place tick, let's take you down to our track guide.
Welcome to Willow Springs International Raceway. As the oldest permanent road course in the U.S., it holds a particular place of distinction among American motorsports fans. The circuit is just an hour and a half north of Los Angeles, and because of this, it has been used in various films and TV shows over the years. With only 9 turns over 2.5 miles, or just over 4 kilometers, you'd think it's a pretty simple affair. But the incredible camber, numerous elevation changes, and some diabolically fast corners means there's complexities here to keep drivers busy for years. The downside is that there are a few heavy braking zones throughout the lap, and most are not in a straight line. Rabbits Ear and Turn 9 each require the driver to carry tremendous speed and aim for frighteningly late apexes. Meanwhile, the run past the Budweiser balcony all the way through the Monroe Ridge takes you on a roller coaster of rises and drops, all while dipping left and right with wild changes in banking. Sadly, there are a few series that visit the track in present day, but it stays extremely active through club racing, driver coaching, and private test days. It has long been a favorite for both fans and drivers, and once you get onto the track, it'll be easy to see why.
Well, there we saw the nature of this track, Willow Springs. Craig, this is an old place, but what are the IMSA Vintage drivers going to be handling today?
Yeah, well, this is the longest continuous running track in America. In Willow Springs, it may look like a simple 9-turn track, but the elevation changes on every section can and will throw you off. Let's start with the GTPs. The Nissans will enjoy the fast-flowing corners, paying attention to the hard braking at Castro Corner and in the run-up to the Budweiser balcony. But while the drivers will love the speed, that will come to hurt them later on in the lap, as carrying too much speed at corners like Rabbit's Ear and Turn 9, the final corner of course, will leave you looking at the sand, as the understeer on exit will throw you wide. Hey, speaking of understeer, the GTOs are full of it. They will enjoy the balcony section though, because the slow speed of the up and down right-handed hairpin will favor the Audis. And then later on, Monroe Bridge will catch the drivers out due to that near blind ridge. But once again, the braking in the hot conditions will hamper the Audis and cause a lot of tire wear. So for multi-class racing, it will be a organized chaos out there today. It's not the first time the cars have been around here, and last time they went around almost smoothly. Now, due to the tight angle though of Castro Corner, late dives in either the same or multi-class will not be possible, so expect to see a lot of side-by-side there. But due to the sweeping corners, the Nissans will have to take care when making early and late corner overtakes on the Audis today. Remember, the Audis will want to track out wide. Adam, it might be 7:50 a.m. sim time, but the track temp is hot and will get hotter. And being an hour-long race, that will provide a lot of stress on those tires. And one last thing, keep an eye out at any incidents on that final corner. The natural racing line can usually send you into the pit entry line, so we could see some pit lane carnage today.
Absolutely, and we will have pit stops today, but we'll get to the race details shortly. But we got to take you to the points because no, your eyes will not be deceiving you. That is Javier Del Olmo at the top of the point standings. His consistency over the course of the beginning of this season putting him there. Aitor Sentes Galindo has fallen afoul of a couple of not so great days, putting him in second position. Aaron Humphrey down there in third. Brendan Lim having a really good championship run himself in fourth position with his consistency as well. And then Seamus Power, last week's winner, bumping himself up to 13 points behind the championship leader in fifth. Farron Grau, Robert Nash, Dylan Freckleton, Fabian Jungbluth, and Matthew Cockram round out the top 10 in the GTPs. But what about the GTOs, Craig?
Well, with the chaos for the last couple weeks, Arturas Kundalis will lead the championship. Mickey Friesen could feel like he should be up there, but 17 points is quite a big deficit this early in the season. Behind, Doug Cloud. Usually at this stage of the season, this is not a knock at Doug, and he'll know what I mean. Usually this is where he starts to drop down the order. A couple good results at the start of the season, and then it gets down a little bit there. However, with how the races have been happening in the GTOs the last couple of weeks, he's been able to just be consistent. Almost like Javier Del Olmo in the GTPs, Adam. He's staying really consistent. Behind them, the ever-long battle to keep into the top 10 in Haycox, Roman Bello, Nicholas McCannis, Noe Lundberg, and all the others below, still close together. But we have only had 4 different winners this season.
This is the 5th round of the championship with 60 minutes on the clock. It is their endurance race. That means they're going to have pit stops, and the cars are going to be fueled so that they usually have to as well. They can drive open setups here and set up the car however they like or dislike, and around here there's a lot to dislike if you're not careful. They have no spare car, but that shouldn't be an issue. There's plenty of runoff at this track, but what will be an issue will be these incidents. We saw them happen last time out here. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25, and I think that drivers are going to hit that, Craig.
I think they're going to hit it as well, because one of the things that's interesting is I talked about the sand or the dirt on the outskirts of these corners. You see it there. Look at it. They're banked. Some of the corners, the last corner, you go on that off track, you're going down the hill. That starts as a 1X. You could lose the car. That could turn into a 2X with loss of control. This is the corner I'm on about. It could be very chaotic just to see what happens on these corners. And just look around you, loads of banking as they come up the hill to the Budweiser balcony. This is Jack David Spickett as he continues on. Elevation change looks really good from these 2 cameras on the balcony.
Absolutely. Robert Nash currently on provisional pole position for the GTPs, with Javier Del Olmo down in 4th position, our championship leader of the GTPs. Mickey Friesen, 2nd position in the GTO championship, is currently on provisional pole for the GTOs. And bad news for Arturas Kundalis. He's just been bumped down to 7th by Doug Cloud, who goes up to 4th position. So Arturas is going to be starting mid-pack. But Craig, we had an interesting question in the chat, which is, can you talk about the kind of brake pressures and pedal pressures that the drivers are going to have around here? Because the amount of modulation on the throttle and brake around here can tire you out.
A lot of braking here. It is a quick lap time. Look at it. 101 for the GTPs, or 115 for the GTOs. It's very quick. In 9 corners, you're braking, you're having to modulate the throttle, the sweeping corners, like the rabbits here, and that sweeper. Sometimes, especially in the GTOs, you want to get on those brakes early. You want to be feathering the brake, trailing off as well. It can be real pressure. Add into the extra hour long, you get a, 30, 40-second break in the pit lane. That's not a lot. If you've done an endurance race, you know what it means to go around a track, say, like Spa, that you've got to put a lot of braking on. These cars, harder braking due to the nature of the old school brakes and the old school tires and everything. And then at the same time, you're having to brake and blip the throttle in the GTOs. It can be a challenge out there.
I wanted to mention a farewell to one of our old mainstays in the IMSA Vintage community. He's not dead. He's just decided to stop racing and stop streaming. It's Timu Toika, who's decided to hang up the steering wheel for the foreseeable future. It was awesome to have Timu out here many weeks over the last couple of years, and we're sad to see him go, but we wish him best on his next endeavors. Phil Lake, not having the greatest qualifying, down in 18th position. JP Ramos, one of our last GTPs, our last GTP who can set a time, Lance Simon did not go out to take his qualifying laps. He's our only other GTP to not have set a time. We also have Austin Powell and Charlie Needham in the GTOs who have not set times, but the rest of the field so far has. And we have a pretty decent turnout here for a single split endurance race. 40 seconds on the clock as JP Ramos crosses the line. And I don't believe that lap is going to count, unfortunately, so that is going to be the end of his opportunities. A lot of off tracks for our drivers, even in qualifying, Craig.
Yeah, a lot of off tracks. And remember, I was talking about the banking. Just look here on the inside of the rabbit's ear. That's a bank going upwards. So you're not going to be pulled away from the track. You're going to be slowed down and just lose control, as he does as well, clipping too much. 3D curves around here, if I recall correctly, and you saw on the pre-broadcast there with the camera when we went to the standings, Adam, they're quite raised up. Just getting in the middle of your car on that is going to cause a lot of issues.
Absolutely, but that's going to take us to the grid of this race, and what a race we have on our hands, Craig. It's going to be an epic one for sure. But on pole position is going to be Robert Nash, with Seamus Power on the row next to him. We've got Hugh Haycox lined up behind Robert Nash, and Javier Del Olmo, a great starting position on the inside behind Seamus Power. Brendan Lim's going to start off row 3 with Aitor Sintez Galindo down in 6th position on row 3 as well. Farron Grau in 7th, and Alexander Van der Sant starting off in 8th, with the top 10 rounded out by Thomas Silbernagel and Nick Melarongo. And then we've got on the next grid row, we've got Jack David Spickett and Nick Facilio, and we've got Matthew Cockram and David Fench in 13th and 14th. And we've got Kevin Parrish and Ben Summers on row 8, and Lance Simon 17th and JP Ramos 18th. Neither Simon or Ramos set a qualifying time in the GTPs.
So let's go to the GTOs with Mickey Friesen leading them off by just 0.092 over Noel Lundberg. And then it's 2 cars on their own because Johan Cameron will be in 3rd with Doug Cloud in 4th. Andreas Schuster will be 5th with Nicholas Makanos in 6th. And Arturas Kundalos will be 7th, followed by Roman Bello 8th. Timothy Reed will be 9th, and Ian Haycox will take 10th position as we round out the first page. And then it'll be Foreman Pollock in 11th with Sam Skogard in 12th. Yuri Geisen, been a while since we've seen him, will be in 13th position with Joshua Brain currently sitting in 14th. Pablo Rangel will be 15th, and then it's Bjorn Ackerman in 16th. Followed by Mika Tupola in 17th, Philip Lake in 18th. Michael Haynes will be 19th, the last of the time qualifiers, with Austin Powell not setting a lap time and 1 car on their own at the back. Charlie Needham also not setting a lap time. 21 GTOs, 18 GTPs. Quite an interesting split there. That should give a little bit of balance, I think, out there, Adam. But that's going to be very interesting the first time, or the second time, or the third time they go through traffic, if last week at Motorsport's anything to go home with.
Absolutely. With 14 seconds between the two classes and 39 drivers out there, it's going to be intense. But what's not going to be intense is the track temperature. It's mostly morning races for these classic cars in the GTPs this season. It is currently 8:02 a.m. virtual standard time with 78 degrees, 79 on track for these drivers. A wind just over the measurable calm limit of 5 knots. It's going to be 6 miles per hour out there from the north, so that's about 5.5 knots. So a fairly mild wind, shouldn't be affecting them too much, but very dry out there. 27% humidity, which means you're likely to be sliding around out there as the tires are not going to want to stick to the surface.
No, and of course these cars already don't like it when it gets hot, and that's one of the reasons why they're on morning races. And of course, because you race some of these races at this time of the year on the track, you think to yourself, it's the 13th of July sim date. You try to do that in the day. Look at it. Where's civilization? There's nothing around. You've got the heat just hitting you. You've got the heat reflecting off the sand and everything. It would just get hot out there later on in the day. So morning racing does help. But as we've been talking, that has actually gone up 1 Fahrenheit. So it just goes to show this is going to start getting warm. It won't get super warm, but it will start getting a little bit warmer than they will expect it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. That uphill to Budweiser kind of feels like the first sector of Sonoma of that race course, and then you head down this hill. It almost feels similar when you're driving it, but then we break out into this relatively long straightaway that goes into the long sweeping right-hander. It's going to be very interesting to see how our drivers handle that. We had a lot of issues through this sweeping right-hander last time out between the two classes with a good 20-25 mile an hour speed difference between them. But Robert Nash leading the field behind the Porsche pace car. And we've got Mickey Friesen about 3 seconds back of the GTPs leading the GTO field. They're a little close, to be honest with you, Craig. I'm a little nervous about that.
It's close. It's one mistake into Castrol, and it's going to be a little bit chaotic. I hope Mickey knows what he's doing. That gap between GTOs and GTPs is less than 3 seconds. I do hope he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, usually you want that to be around 4 seconds to make sure that if any incidents happen in the back of the GTPs that you don't come up upon a gigantic incident. I think it's going to be a little tight today. Mickey Friesen pushing out to 3 seconds now and further, so he's going to slow up the GTO field. But here we see the Porsche car pulling off, the Porsche pace car pulling off, and when it crosses that yellow line, control of field will go over to Robert Nash, who had 3/10 over Seamus Power, and he gets a huge jump, and that's going to be Hugh Haycox who's going to follow him through. Hugh Haycox had a 101.1 that got disqualified in qualifying, but look at this, he's got some decent speed, but not quite as quick as Robert Nash through the first turn. Let's take you to the GTOs.
GTO's 3 wide. They're going in. It could be a little incident, and it hasn't. And they're still 3 wide through the rabbit turn at the front. That's Doug Cloud, Mickey Friesen, and Johan Kamanen. And Doug Cloud is going to try and take this into P2. He just can't hold on right now. He's got the inside. Great run here from Friesen. We watch in the corner as well with the GTP going up to the balcony. But can Doug Cloud hold on to this? No, it's the outside becomes the in.
Noah Lundberg taking that position away from Friesen on the start, just got the jump over Friesen. I'll be interested to see whether or not that was a jump start from Lundberg. Obviously, there's no rules against jump starts here, but look at the front of the GTP field. Hugh Haycox with a huge run on Robert Nash, and if he gets a better run through the final corner, he's going to have an opportunity to make a pass for the lead. Not happening this time as the GTS, whoa, that's one going off there. That's Yuri Giesen in the background who slid out towards the back of the field. He's now rejoined, but he's going to have taken a couple of incident points.
As he takes a couple of incident points, they get ready. GTP's already started lap 2. These guys are still going to look for a run. Is there going to be a mover in? Haycox, you can see, right behind, is unable to make any headwind. And now the drivers, they start doing a little bit of the NASCAR weave going up the straight. Is there going to be any move here? No. Lumbo's got such a gap right now, he doesn't have to wait for any mistakes there or any overtakes. So it's going to be really handy for him. Already a second lead.
And here's Seamus Power, who's looking on the back of Hugh Haycox for an opportunity here. He's taking a look. Seamus Power, last week's winner. I don't know what it is about winning in the IMSA Vintage Series that seems to give you raw pace and puts you up towards the front. It's almost like you're a wrestling superstar where you get one big championship win under your belt. Oh, Mickey Friesen's gone around. Our pole position driver in the GTOs he's now spun. He's still parked. And look at that, he's parked on the side of the road, unfortunately. As we're looking at him, Seamus Power trying to make that move around the outside of Hugh Haycox. A little bit of contact that pushes Seamus Power off into the dirt. Hugh Haycox retains the position.
Yeah, Mickey Friesen got himself stuck there. He lost it himself. He clipped too much inside corner, going the left-handed, going up to the balcony, and just clipped it. And he was very lucky. Everyone avoided him. He's now 10 seconds behind, but some great driving here in the GTPs. They're going to see Mickey Friesen up ahead. They're going to think he's damaged. He's not. And that could be quite interesting when it comes to the mentality here, Adam, of trying to make these moves. Because when you see a straggler, as we call it, the last car in a pack, it could cause a little bit of a headache. What are you going to do? Here is the GSRC replay with Mickey Friesen. You see he isn't trying to defend from Doug, but he clipped way too much of that inside. Car gets upset and he goes sideways. And look at that, he's beached himself.
He got hung up. Oh, that's heartbreaking. He doesn't want to try and rejoin in the middle of that pack. Remember, Mickey Friesen was the closest one to Arturas Kundelis in the championship, and he started off on pole today, had a potential opportunity for some really good points, but unfortunately, that's all come undone. He's now last of the GTOs on track.
Yeah, we gotta look as well because Atos Intense Galindo, he's trying to do battle, and this one GTO is just causing a little bit of a headache for the drivers. Jack David Spickett trying to get past as well as he's trying to make moves, unable to. Earlier in the lap, Seamus Power almost made it on Hugh Haycock, but was unable to. And now some of these drivers getting past two GTOs at the front of the field. They weren't expecting any traffic lap 4, but all of a sudden, with the way the start has been in the GTOs, there's traffic on lap 4. This is way earlier than they expected.
Absolutely, and it's some of the drivers who are less comfortable with the traffic. These stragglers tend to be the drivers who you want to avoid around here as much as possible. So the GTP drivers now, you can see them. Oh my goodness, that's Alexander Vandersant going way off into the gravel, and he's going to hit the outside wall. I didn't think that was possible.
I didn't even think that was possible. Did he just lose? I think that's a hardware failure. That looks hardware failure to me. We're going to have to look at a replay later for that, but back on board with Robert Nash now as he continues on. He's trying to look for moves over Hugh, and now they hit the main. Was that a car off? That was a
oh, huge incident! Huge incident. We have a parked Sam Skovsgaard and Brendan Lim and Kevin and Aitor Sintes Galindo have had made contact. That's our championship leader, or a second place in the championship in the GTPs, who's just hit the parked Sam Skovsgaard. That's the end of their race.
I saw it, and we saw it as well, and Aitor's got massive damage. I saw it and thought, that's a weird place. I have no idea what got there for him, and there's still a car.
Oh, Aitor's wheel came off. He's done.
Yeah, wheel is down, wheel is off, that's it. We'll have to look at it later as the cars go through the GTPs. Us going through the GTOs first time. Phil Lake's just gone off wide on the final corner as well in the backfield, but Nick Magrano, he's trying to fight here. Really good start for him if he continues. He's got Thomas Simonet going front. Lots of traffic to work through now as well. Could be very interesting if there's a gap in this traffic. I think he's going to be okay.
Well, I asked the question at the beginning of this race, will the drivers have mastered this track? And the answer is a resounding no. Nobody has mastered this thing. Hugh Haycox currently leads as Robert Nash lost that first position, as you said, has now dropped back to third, all due to the traffic, and the GTP leaders almost through the GTOs for the first time today. We're looking at Nick Milagrano. He's looking to the inside here as they wind their way up towards Budweiser. Can't get anything done this time, but they got a GTO who's going to be a pick for them as they try and dive in. This is the battle for 7th between Nick and Thomas Silbernagel. Thomas stuck in behind. Let's take a look at what happened here. This is Alexander Vandersant, and this is his incident that sent him off into the gravel. Let's see whether or not he has a mechanical here.
Yeah, let's just see as he goes on board, and he's just having to fight around here. Gets to these corners. Now he's going to get to the sweeper. He's onto the sweeper, and the sweeper turns into turn 9. He's going wide. He's going wide. He's going very wide, and he's just gone too wide and not turned in time. He lost it on his own.
Yeah, I've heard people complain that the gravel, that the marbles aren't real in iRacing. I beg to disagree. That is evidence that they definitely are, and they definitely can affect you. Here is a look at the battle for the 8th position between David Finch and Kevin Parrish. They're tucked in behind that battle for 6th and 7th between Silbernagel and Melagrano. Oh, look at them going off track. They got to stop going off track, Craig. If they keep doing that, they're gonna get drive-throughs or disqualifications. We're not even 10 minutes into this 60-minute race.
And remember, this isn't the 4-tire rule here. This is the half of the car rule here, the old rules for off-track. So that can elicit an off-track there. They have to be careful. They've got to do the respect. And more drivers now getting held up. You see Kevin Parrish. He realizes that Nick got a little bit held up there. Kevin gets by. Nick decides it's not worth the battle. He's going to have to wait and see it. But look at...
Oh my goodness, a little bit of a squeeze there from Ui Kamonen, who's joining us once again in the GTOs, and Doug Cloud as well, puts the squeeze on Kevin Parrish, but he's able to get going once again. Silbernagel going slowly. Can he make it through turn 1 quick enough? The answer is yes. We go back to the battle between Matthew Cockram and Lance Simon. Simon up a good position, and Nick Facciolo as well in that battle, trying to make it work. And these are our GTO leaders who are getting pushed around by the GTPs. Let's take a look at the replay and see what happened to our 2nd place GTP leader.
This is Brendan Lim as he's coming around the corner, and you've got Van der Sant as well.
Oh.
He gets tagged as well, and he goes into the car. Now, I would have thought there, well, we've got to go back. I'm sorry, we've got to go back. Doug Cloud's gone off the track. Doug Cloud's been hit. We've got to go back because he's been hit while we're looking at this. And you can see there are cars that just having issues. Sam's Go-Kart had a VR disconnect, hence why he was in the middle of the track.
So Doug Cloud goes from second position all the way back to seventh due to contact with Matthew Cockrum. So unfortunately for Doug, he's now mired back in the field. This has been absolute destruction and chaos to begin this race, Craig.
I don't even know the words right now, but if you're the likes of Arturas Kundelis, who did not have the best start, the best qualifying, and in the best place right now, it's all looking up for you as Timothy Reed now is going to be in his own battle right now, and they just have to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say cautious, careful, just a little bit more respectful as well. Calm it down a bit, I think, as well. We're only 10 minutes into the race, and how many cars have we seen out?
Absolutely. It's 5 degrees higher. We're going to take a look at what happened to Doug Cloud here. So he's just coming up towards Budweiser, and there you see Matthew Cockrum off track there, and Doug's going to go to this racing line, and Cockrum's going to try and take that apex and bump Doug out into the grass, or into the dirt rather, and he tries to get back on. He might have collected some damage from that, but Seamus Power is under pressure from Robert Nash now. And look at this. Oh my goodness, very close with Michael Haynes, who's joining us once again in the GTO. Seamus Power around the outside of Nash. Nash trying to put pressure on Power, a little bit of contact, and look at that. He uses Phil Lake as a pick.
That is an amazing pick on the end of a sweeping corner. Fantastic work from Seamus. Nash managed to get around him on the inside, got around Philip Lake, but it was not enough. Now he's going to have to be careful with Lap GTP and our GTO in front. Gets around, losing a bit of time. That allows Nash to get a better run coming out of the ridge into the winged leg. He's not going to be able to make a move right now, but he's looking to try and take that inside.
And here's Timothy Reed putting pressure onto Arturas Kundelis as Robert Nash takes that position back away from Seamus Power. So second position to Robert Nash once again. And Timothy Reed is trying to right now put pressure on Kundelis. If I'm Kundelis, Craig, I'm thinking to myself, Nicky Friesen is back there in 17th position. All I need to do today is survive. Here's Jack David Spickett trying to make a move on our championship leader, Javier Del Olmo.
Makes it stick. Javier realizes he just has to play the fiddle there and holds back. But you're right, if I'm the lead here, I'm not even thinking about the championship. I'm thinking fuel save. If I'm in a group and I'm up ahead, why go hell-bent for leather? Let's just take it easy. If there's an opportunity to lift, let's lift. More fuel saved could get you an extra lap, or could mean you get less time in the pit because you've got more fuel to begin with. Very interesting. Oh, no.
Nicky Friesen, that's Nick Bellegrano. David Finch is backing off because he sees this incident happening, and my goodness, David's going to back it up, so he stays going, and there's Nick off track. The GTPs have been deciding to take the exit of turn 3, or turn 2 rather, and use all of the runoff and more into the dirt to try and get past the GTOs. Oh my goodness, and Seamus Power right next to Robert Nash again, trying to make it through turn 1. They're going to have Josh Blaine, who's going to become the pick once again for Nash. Wow, Seamus Power in a second.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It's twice now that's happened for Seamus, and it's worked out well for him, and Nash has to think, what have I got to do? There's not a lot of free space on this track right now. You are going to get a constant barrage of lap traffic. He just was not expecting anything like that. Can Seamus catch up to Hugh, though? The gap's 3.5 seconds. It's going to be tough, and when you've got traffic, look at this traffic, 4th, 5th, 6th, maybe even 3rd. You've got a lot of the top runners in the GTO right ahead. He's going to have to do a lot of lifting and early braking.
I don't know where these drivers are getting the idea that there would be a lot of traction on this track. With this being the longest consistently operated racetrack in the United States, I would expect it to be fairly low grip, and these drivers are tackling it like they've got the grip of a brand new track. We just saw Kevin Parrish make a pass on Thomas Silbernagel for 6th position, so move Parrish up to 6th. Javier Del Olmo still on the back of Jack David Spickett, who made that pass on him last lap. And Timothy Reed still trying to get out there and put pressure onto Kundelis again.
Yeah, well, we got this pack here. Cameron, Schuster, Kundelis, Reed, Roman Bellows just trying to catch up as well as Jack David Spickett comes around the outside. They're in a long, elongated group here. and they just need to just spend the time now to just work together and fuel save, and that may be what they're doing. You're not going to see a lot of late sends or moves by these drivers, although saying that Cameron has a mistake going up the hill, as you saw, as the lead car of this pack. They're going to take it easy and just wait for the opportunity. It shouldn't be a lot of heroics, but at the moment, the opportunity, the goal, sorry, is to survive. The opportunity will come later, maybe in the pits.
Our two leaders are checking out. Hugh Haycox up to 3.3 seconds over Seamus Power. That's close enough that a little bit of traffic could bring him back. But Noah Lundberg, 6.5 seconds to Johanni Komminen, and that would require an incident for him to be brought back. So Noah Lundberg in a really good position right now. He just needs to keep it clean.
Keep it clean, avoid any moves. In fact, because he's not racing anybody, no driver is going to look to make any crazy moves on them, as we just see JP Ramos go in the middle there of Schuster and Cameron looking for a move. And just look again, I talked about how tight this corner is. It is quite a sweeping left-hander, but it's so tight on the angle, you cannot make that late send there. And you now start to see that Schuster, he has to use that corner to try and set himself up for the rabbits here. It does not pay off like he expects it. And now with more traffic up ahead, not a lot they can do, but again, that is not the time to make the move.
Contact from Parrish, as that was Schuster who squeezed off Parrish's line. That forced Parrish to do a straight line braking and actually make contact with Cameron, but fortunately no damage done to Cameron, I believe. I'm not sure about Parrish. Parrish down in 6th position. Alfredo almost still on the back of Jack David Spickett in the GTPs, and this is our battle for 2nd position, the GTOs, and it's fallen now 8 seconds behind Noah Lundberg.
They all just bunched up a little bit there because of what happened, and again, that's not the type of corner to make the move there. Yes, the GTOs late apex to first part, they're going up to the balcony, but that's not how you make the send. And Matthew Cockerham is now looking to try and make a move. He does. Behind him is Nick Mellengraus. No, it isn't, but here it is. That's Nick Fazio, sorry, as he's got past. Looking for more moves, but more traffic up ahead. And look how loose Cockerham is on the driving there. I think he's taken a bit of wing out because that car was sliding a little bit on the final corner.
It's Nick Facciolo who's tucked in behind Cockerham right now, and into turn 1 they go, tucked in behind Nick McConos, who's trying to battle with Thorman Pollock for 8th position in the GTOs. They're going to go around the outside. Looks like Facciolo is not super confident feeling offline in that GTP, and so losing time to Cockerham, who made that pass on him.
Yeah, it goes down to the rubber again, Adam. You talked about how there's marbles on the track there. Would be a little bit slippery there, lose a little bit of grip, and you can just see how that works for him. But now you'll see Javier Delhomme racing on the racing line with a lot of dirty air. Jack David Spickett is right ahead of him, just trying to use what he can. Look, Camber there as well on that first corner, Castro corner. That can catch out some drivers as well, but Javier Delhomme just having to pay attention to what the traffic is. There's Mickey Friesen, got a free space here. Now he can take the corner normally, but he does lose a little bit of time having to go late around the outside of Mickey Friesen there. Lost a couple attempts, making it up with a really nice balcony section.
And here we see Robert Nash putting pressure on Seamus Power yet again. I think these two are duking it out for 2nd position unless Hugh Haycox makes a mistake here. And here we see Robert Nash taking a look around the outside. He's looking for downforce right now, searching for where he could put that nose into the air to get a little bit of downforce to make sure they make that corner work. And there he does. He's got a decent run. I think he's too far back to take Seamus Power on turn 1 this time around, especially with the speeds. Oh my goodness! Hard braking as they're coming up on Ian Haycox, and that's because Seamus Power didn't want to run to the back of Haycox on the exit. So that was a little bit of a surprise for Robert Nash, but he kept it going.
I wonder if Seamus actually did a little bit of lift and coast there just to save a bit of fuel as wide goes Robert Nash. Holds onto it very well, but Nash going really deep into the braking for the first corner. That could also cause a little bit of tire wear later on, so we need to keep an eye on that. Track temp is now 83 Fahrenheit. As there's Doug Cloud, he's managed to catch back up to this lead pack where he was, because remember, he was P2 at one stage. He's now on the back of this battle for P2. All of these cars are battling for P2. And there he is. I'm just going to say, though, Adam, leader, as you can see, 9 seconds ahead of everybody else in the GTOs.
Absolutely right on board with Doug Cloud right now. This is now a 6-car train for 2nd position from Cameron down through Schuster, Condelis, Reed, Doug, and Romain Bello, who just got passed by Doug Cloud. Robert Nash still side by side with Seamus Power trying to make that work. couldn't get it done this time around. I think Nash has better race pace than Power, but not through the traffic.
No, they had to go 3 wide there, and Nash was already at a disadvantage, and he had to take a really tight line as they're coming up to this battle very shortly with Doug there up ahead. Again, another mistake from Cameron at the top of the hill. That's going to bunch a lot of the drivers up. They got Roman Bello, the first one in this view. There goes then Doug Cloud, and it's so tough to make a line down in Monroe Ridge with just how wide it is. Robert Nash having to get on the brake a little bit extra there, and then trying to squeeze Doug Cloud, and that holds up Doug.
Yeah, Doug's got no qualms in cutting off a GTP to take his line, and Robert Nash knows that. That's why he backed out of it. Otherwise, I think we would have seen contact between the two of them. But Nash being very assertive right now. He could have gone to the inside there of Kaminen. I think his GTPs are still learning where they can pass the GTOs. Timothy Reed's off.
Timothy Reed is off, and that's not what you want to see as he goes down the order having a mistake. Schuster's going to go side by side with Cameron. That mistake, and I think a lot of that was due to Nash because Cameron already gave up the racing line, and now they're going to go side by side into the rabbit's ear. And can Schuster hold it? It's a very long right-hander here, and he just doesn't have the traction. He keeps on the overlap, though, really good. JDS is going to be there. The natural line just sends him off. JDS has to just hold up a little bit as these guys continue side by side. They almost come together, Adam.
Yeah, good move from Schuster to block off JDS, say, hey, not now, I need that line. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen. Those constant right-hand turns over Budweiser is going to keep Andreas Schuster tucked in behind Cameron, and JDS trying to find his way around. Can't quite do it. Van de Sant, a lap down, is going to go past Schuster here as we're riding on board with him. And here comes Javier Del Olmo in 5th position, trying to catch back up to Jack David Spickett. He's going to streak by right about now, and there he goes, trying to catch back up to JDS, 2 GTPs ahead.
I will say, though, fantastic driving from Schuster to be able to keep side by side or have a significant overlap through that long corner. Fantastic work by him. Unfortunately, could not pay it off. Is there going to be...
All right, so we're within 40 minutes to go. That means full race distance of our regularly scheduled races, which means that you can pit from here and make it to the end for sure. You could do that probably at 15 minutes to go, as rather 15 minutes into the race as well. I don't think we have had a couple of drivers into the pits, but I'm pretty sure it was for damage. Alexander Van de Sant, Nick Melorano, and then we've got JP Ramos as well. None of the GTOs who are still running have come to the pits yet.
No, not yet, and we don't expect them to come into the pits yet, though, Adam. It is quite a little bit early. Remember, we've only just hit the 40-minute mark. We're now a proper IMSA race, or IMSA Vintage race. But
Javier Del Olmo making a move on Jack David Spickett. He made up all the ground because of some of the traffic, especially with Noah Lundberg, our leader in the GTOs, and Del Olmo up to 4th position again, but here comes JDS with a head of steam down the front straightaway, but he can't quite get close enough. I don't think he's going to be able to do it unless he gets late on the brakes, and the answer is no. He backs out of it, saves a little bit of fuel. I think JDS might be on a fuel number now.
I think he could be on a fuel number. I don't know if that's a fact. We've got to go back to the GTO though, because Cameron's gone wide off the final corner, and that brings in Andreas Schuster as they're going to have a little bit of a battle here. And Schuster gets held up with a big move, and that almost got to the big wreck. And Doug Cloud almost goes into the back there of Schuster, and that could have been a massive, massive accident there. Everyone just avoiding it.
Absolutely, and to be honest with you, Austin Powell was running his line. The lapped GTO was just running the normal racing line. Yes, slower than our leaders expected, but he was just trying to run the racing line. Now at this stage, he's absolutely caught up in the mess with the rest of these GTO leaders, so backs off just a little bit. But honestly, I think the drivers were expecting him to get out of the way, but that's not what you're supposed to do. When you're a lap car, you're just supposed to run your line and let the other guys go around you, and that was... I think the drivers just expected something different from him.
And we know from what happened last week to just continue on. Is this scheduled from Cockerham? This is interesting, Matthew.
Yes, it is.
It is scheduled, taking the tide very early. That could be an interesting call later on in the race. But I was saying, we saw last week, Adam, when you come off the racing line, that causes issues. And some of these drivers got caught out in a big wreck because a lap GTP went off the line to let someone through. So why would they expect the GTO to do it?
Now we're going to take a look at this replay, and I believe that this is going to be of what just happened with Cockerham. Yes, it is. So this is Nick Facciolo and Matthew Cockrum, who both go off track behind Ian Haycox. There they go, avoiding those cones. They decide to take a cone dodge course. Facciolo is going to get back on the track, but Cockrum goes to the pits after that off track. And so that's why he came to the pits. So scheduled, I mean, kind of, I guess, but not really.
I didn't know we were using the, oh my word, that's the car that's had an incident in the background. Did not catch who it was. It's Siebernagel, who was actually running in 8th position. Now, what on earth has happened there? He's got to tow that car from that position. That's
contact with Austin Powell, and I mean, he just ran into him.
Well, no other way to say it. He did, unfortunately, just make that mistake, and now JDS having his little battle here. He's going to try and make this move, can't make it move, but Javier Del Olmo continues on. This is where now, surely, if you're Jack David Spickett and you're on a number, and that's a fuel number, maybe you just look at making some lift right now, especially in these type of corners. A bit of lift and coast around the top of the hill won't hurt anybody.
Yeah, so there are a couple of drivers who are really struggling right now. Josh Brain is very slow through the final corner. I think he's going to be coming to the pits this time around. No, he's still going, so I think he just went off track. Let's take a look at the replay of what happened here between those two drivers, with Silbernagel making contact with Austin Powell. So here's Powell coming through the right-hander, and Silbernagel just punts him.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he was a little bit offline, but at the same time, like, you were going to cut it a little bit too close for comfort regardless.
And just the way
he's JDS is into the pits.
Jack David Spickett.
Yeah, Jack David Spickett's into the pits for a regularly scheduled stop. 35 minutes left on the clock. He's taking tires and fuel. So, man, I really hope that he's had to take enough fuel to justify the tire stop. Otherwise, he's going to be, he does. So there we see going past him, that's David Finch who's going to be going past him. So JDS still filling up with fuel right now. Up ahead of him right now is Noel Lundberg. No, sorry, that's Hugh Haycox, who just went by and lapped him. So it's just a lapped car up ahead of him. And here's our GTO battle, as we've been talking about, going by. And you can see just how bumpy that front straightaway is. This camera shot giving a really good opportunity to look at that. Craig, it's extremely bumpy around this track.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, the track is up for sale, and whoever wants to buy it, if you could give it a nice new repave so we can get rid of those bumps. I know they're kind of like part of the charm, but this track is great and used for a lot of filming and a lot of test driving. Get rid of those bumps, and I'm just saying it may help some of the racing, just like it's helping the racing right here. Schuster's actually going to nose in there going up the hill. There is an overlap, but he slides. He's not going to be able to hold this here. Arturus looked at the move there, decided against it, and I think that's why, especially when you got JP Ramos now. Out comes Jack David Spickett. Maybe had some damage, but is this to cover the Matthew overtake?
Or did he have a penalty? I don't know. He was in the pits for a long time, Jack David Spickett. 1 minute 3 seconds. That's a long time in the pits. Hugh Haycox just setting the fastest lap, 7.5 seconds ahead of Seamus Power, with Noel Lundberg 15 seconds off the front. Now, as you can see, that was Javier Del Olmo streaking his way through, cutting through this pack, as JP Ramos is on the same lap as these GTOs and not going much faster.
No, he's biding his time, though. He's being respectful because he realizes he's in the battle, so he's just holding off. So let's look at a replay right now while we're just seeing this. The drivers are just having a lull in the moment. Alex van der Sant going to be coming down. He's coming out of the Budweiser balcony, looking to make a move, a small bump, another bump, and that is also just a difference in confidence. He can take that corner flat because of the way he's got that car set up. The car in front of him isn't able to, and I think just that speed difference caught him out there. He was expecting one thing, and it came to be the other.
Yeah, Van der Sant, just not the day he wanted today. Tucked back all the way back in the pack right now. Aitor Santos Galindo is out. Farron Grau is out. Philip Lake is out as well. Brendan Lim had 11.5 minutes in the pits. There we see Arturus Kindle jumping over that inside curb. He's now got caught by Doug Cloud, who's recovered from his shunt earlier on in the race and is back up in that battle for second position now in the GTOs.
And yet the funny thing is, he's net -1 for the day as a GTP of Kevin Parrish comes on through. And Doug, cool, calm, collected, puts a little crank at the steering wheel as he goes on. checks his mirrors, checks the side, sees nothing. It looks so easy right now for him, Adam. I know it's not because look at the moving painting. No way.
Nice dive to the inside, and he's actually looking up the road a little bit at Kaminen and Schuster, who are side by side. Schuster's actually got a nose ahead of Kaminen. We can see them just up the road, and you know that Doug's looking at that as well, hoping they keep battling through the Rabbit's Ear and into Budweiser. So very interesting stuff. I can report that David Finch has gone off in the final corner, and he's recovering, but has some rear end damage. So I think that he hit his rear wing and is now going to come into the pits. But look at these GTO battles, and they're starting to get separated by the number 6 machine of, I believe, that is Brendan Lim, who's multiple laps down on even the GTO field right now.
Yeah, Jack David Spickett has the tire in the car. We'll talk about that later, but we have to talk about Andreas Schuster made that move around the outside of the Rabbit's Ear. He made it stick. He didn't even overlap going into the left-hander before the Budweiser balcony. He made it stick. What a move that was for Andreas Schuster to get the lead. But the tight line here from Kaminen, I think he's had to get on the brakes a little bit there. He will not get the run he wanted. Schuster's going to defend this. Well, Kaminen looked to it. He's got a lot of overspeed. He's going to look for the overlap. They're side by side, but he brakes earlier, than Schuster. He cannot make it stick. He's going to have to learn how to do that, though, if he's now on the attack.
Absolutely. So this brings Kundelis and Doug Cloud back into this battle. Doug just getting past. This is Matthew Cochran at 8th position. Our leader, Hugh Haycox, has lost some time now in the GTP. He's down to only 5 seconds to Seamus Powell right now. David Finch in the pits at the moment. He's been in the lane for 1:08 and 55 seconds in the box after his spin at the final corner. You can see the GTOs. Oh my goodness, that was Kaminen getting his left tires off into the dirt. That slowed him down and brought Kundelis and Doug Cloud back into the battle. I think, Craig, looking at what happened with Jack David Spickett, that might have been a rage quit.
It would not surprise me if you've had an issue in the pit lane. You're going to be quite frustrated, and it could ruin your day. And I would not blame him if he did it. I wouldn't do it myself, but I can totally understand why someone would do it. I'd have no qualms with someone doing that. Look how they're bunched up, though. You can see Nick Malangrano is trying to get by as well in the GTP. He's going to have to look for a line. Now, Kaminen is taking the inside line here for that GTP. And that's why you saw Kundelis take a different line. Hasn't worked for him, but look how close they're getting. And there's now another lap GTO with a GTP coming by ahead of them. Where does Doug go this time? He has to get by that GTO, but he's going to be losing out here.
Romain Bellows now in this battle, and so is Timothy Reed. So all these GTO drivers are starting to get a little slow, and here they go past Austin Powell. Looks like Robert Nash is into the pits. Scheduled stop for Nash. We'll keep an eye on that timer as it goes, but we need to keep our eyes here because this battle for second position in the GTOs is continuing to be the hottest battle on track.
It's going to turn into a battle for P3 at the moment. No one can get past him. That was always going to happen. That was always going to happen, though.
Kundelis!
Yeah, he's gone around. That
Championship leader! Championship leader with major front end damage and probably suspension damage. That's going to end his chance at getting a high position for this race. Now, granted, he's going to get more points than his championship rival Mika Tupela at the moment in 16th, but if he can't get his pace going and Tupela can get up there, Tupela's only 28 seconds out of the lead.
And while this is happening, Noel Lundberg has come into the pits to take his pit stop. I think he realized I don't think he realized what was going on. He just looked for a clean spot on the racetrack. It's going to work well for him.
No.
But yeah, Schuster, it doesn't.
No, Lundberg has a pass through. That's a penalty. So that's our leader in the GTOs with an off-track penalty. He was free and clear, Craig. He didn't have to push.
But we're halfway through the race. We brought it up. We brought it up, Adam. Halfway through the race, we can see.
And Doug Cloud sweeping her on the outside of Kaminen, so that puts him in second position. Schuster now leads 3 seconds ahead of this pack. Craig, keep going.
I don't even know where to go right now. I look at one point and something happens. I look at another point, something's going on. The GTOs have always been some of the closest battles in IMSA Vintage, and this race, once again, in the space of a minute, was 2 minutes even, have flipped up on its head, absolutely left, right, and center. I don't know where I'm looking right now, Adam.
If you're wondering why history is important, this is why. Last time out, the last time we were here at Willow Springs, we had multiple drivers who had disqualifications due to incidents, and it's the first time that that's happened as we see Kaminen peeling off for the pit lane. Let's see whether or not this is an actual pit stop or whether he has a drive-through penalty. But let me tell you, oh my goodness, we've had a wreck in the GTPs as well. It looks like Matthew Cockrum and Nick Melorano have gotten together once again for 8th position. So they're back going once again. But Craig, I gotta tell you, these guys weren't paying attention to what happened last time. Keeping it on the road's the most important thing you could do, especially in an endurance race here at Willow Springs.
It is indeed. I'm just looking as well as anyone's got any other penalty. Josh Brain had a black flag, which is interesting because he just pitted. So is that due to having a issue entering or exiting pit, or what's happened there? He's not taking the pit lane right now, but he's going to have to serve another black flag as he come on right by there with Kaminen in front of him. Kaminen will not know Brain's on a black flag.
Yeah, so Josh Brain on a black flag, Kaminen comes out right behind him. That is not ideal, not the best strategy in the world, but not much he could do. If he had half a second more, or half a second less in the pits, he would have been ahead of him. But now he's tucked in behind Brain, who has to serve a penalty. And Mickey Friesen, as we've said, he has yet to pit as well, still trying to recover from that lap 1 incident. Andreas Schuster into the pits, and so is Doug Cloud.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. These are scheduled pit stops. These guys do not need to take a drive through. We're looking pretty fine at the moment, knock on wood. And there he is. He gives a little bit of a breather. Just make sure his fuel's ready.
Ooh.
Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Yep, fine. Yep. Doing everything. Hugh Haycock's in the GTPs will now come in as well, as you'll just see him in the background, and more cars coming in to take their pit stops. Curious if Josh Brain comes in to serve his black flag. He's got to. He's got a couple laps to serve it.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's going to have some work to do. Andreas Schuster just now exiting the pits as well as Hugh Haycock hits his box. That is our leader in the GTPs. Seamus Power in the box ahead of him. Looks like not the quickest pit entry for Power, so he might lose some time on Hugh just on entry there. There we see Javier Del Olmo streak by. He has yet to take a pit stop, but is now currently our leader.
Yeah, and I don't think you can no-stop this race. I remember we saw one of the last hour-long races we saw Andreas Valenteus. He took a no-stopper to the finish. He could not. We're not going to see it today. There's too much high-speed stuff here to make such moves, so he's not going to be able to. Seamus comes out into...
Doug Cloud had an incident. Sorry, Doug Cloud had an incident up at the Rabbits here. This was just on his own. I think it was just cold tires. You got to remember, these drivers took new tires and they're cold, so he just lost a bunch of time to the drivers up ahead. So Doug Cloud is now a good 4 seconds behind Kaminen, and Doug looks like he just held up Nick Facciolo as well for 6th position, the GTPs rather. So our current leaders of the GTOs are Romain Bello and Timothy Reed, but they have yet to stop. But these two drivers, Timothy Reed is a previous GTP champion. So, yeah, he's tucked in there behind. Romain Bello has yet to stop. And I believe we have a replay here to take a look at what happened with Doug Cloud. Here he is coming into the corner and just takes it too hot, gets a little bit of a wiggle and takes it off track.
Yeah, usually the wiggle is almost like the sign that a driver is trying to fight that oversteer or the understeer or the loss of grip, and it almost looked like he does a little bit too much because then there was the snap. So that could be one of the reasons. Such a shame there for Doug. His race was going so well, the recovery was going so well for him, and it's not worked out for him. Nicolas Mecanos comes into the pit. Javier Del Olmo, the lead GTP, coming into the pit. I'm curious, does he come in now? It would be a great opportunity for Javier to take into the pits right now, I feel.
But Javier also can go probably another 8 minutes, so he doesn't have to come into the pits this time around, and he decides not to. I saw him taking a look over there, but I think he's going to try and give himself enough time that he can come out into this gap he's in right now. So that means it's probably going to be another 2 to 3 laps before he comes into the pits.
Yeah, I'm looking at the track map. He's got the top 5 in GTO right ahead of him. He's going to spend a lap or two there as we look at Hugh Haycock battling as well. Then after that, he's got a lap, maybe 2 laps of clear air. At best, he's got 4 laps before he hits the back markers of the GTOs. Even though he's getting held up right now, Hugh Haycox, we just saw there, Roman Bello still yet to pit. Lost a lot of time last lap, though, on Timothy Reed.
And interestingly enough, Javier Del Olmo in that clear air ran a 103 flat to Hugh Haycox's 104.2. So 1.2 seconds better lap time in that clear air. So I think I'm with Javier that staying out right now was the best strategy, but the question is, will it continue to be the best strategy? We'll see as their lap times come in. Del Olmo, we could just see him streaking around the cars in the background as Romain Bello in second position in the GTOs. He's lost touch with Timothy Reed, who's now 2 seconds up the road.
Yeah, Timothy Reed's 2 seconds up the road, and now you go think to yourself, well, maybe go for the overtake. Maybe over the pits as well. If you're Roman Bello, you're not in that fuel saving because you're not getting the slipstream now. Be interesting to see. 104.3
to 104.3 with Del Olmo and Haycox. So Del Olmo staying on par with our de facto race leader. Here is Andreas Schuster trying to make a pass on Bjorn Ackerman. Remember, Schuster having pit, Bjorn Ackerman having not. Our leader, Timothy Reed, last lap was a 1:16.5. Andreas Schuster's last lap was a 1:16.1.
Right, let's keep looking. We're having to almost pass all that traffic now. He's got 2 laps at least of clear air. We don't need to look at him. We'll just need to keep looking at those times. It's going to be interesting to see where he'll come out after the pit. Schuster here in an interesting situation. He's on the fresher tires. These cars around him are not on the fresher tires, but they're on lighter fuel load as they haven't taken to the pits yet. So he's probably just saving the opportunity to just wait to go and push it. He knows the caliber of driver Ian Haycox is. He doesn't need to be aggressive on him. Bjorn Ackerman's going to be safe as well. He understands the situation. And by the way, I was just talking about those GTPs. There's Hugh Haycox with a 102. What the lap!
Wow, 102 flat. So that's what fresh tires and low fuel can get you out here. A 102 flat. That is only 1 second off of the qualifying time for these drivers. So what a lap from him. That's going to carve into Del Olmo's lead. And if I'm Del Olmo, I'm going to take to the pits probably this time around.
Yeah, we did see that on the camera, Ian Haycox losing the position to Schuster. I reckon that was Ian knowing that Schuster is out of sync because he has done his pits. Maybe that could be it. Ian's now pulled a little bit to the battle for P7 with Bjorn Ackerman, but here's Seamus Power. He's looking to try and make some moves up right now. He's side by side with Kevin Parrish. He gets around Kevin Parrish. He's got to go around the outside again. And Seamus Power doesn't need no pick moves today, and he gets by cleanly. This is a battle for position. It isn't actually, because Kevin still needs to pit.
Yes, so Seamus Power has yet to pit, so he's trying to catch up to Hugh Haycox, 6.5 seconds up ahead. That is the battle for what will become the lead in the GTPs between Haycox and Power. And Power has been quicker as the fuel has dropped off. But you got to remember Hugh Haycox setting that fastest lap time. But over average lap times, Power has been gaining on Hugh Haycox. Here we take a look at Thorben Pollock, who's trying to catch up to the back of, or rather, I believe just got passed by Noah Lundberg, who has pitted. Noah Lundberg is our fastest driver, our lead driver in the GTOs, who has taken a pit stop. Andreas Schuster, a good 19 seconds behind him.
Yeah, and if we look at the way this works, Lundberg's 10 seconds behind Timothy Reed. A pit here, cone to cone's about 38 seconds. Knowles did a facto leader by quite a lot, and is that because of what happened to Doug? We don't know. Other things are in control here. He's going to be coming out in the lead, and he's going to be a little bit surprised at that. But Thorben Pollock right now, he knows he's not in that battle with Noah. He's just waiting for his time. He may be coming into the pits. I'll tell you someone else who hasn't pitted yet. Remember I said Javier Del Olmo had 2 laps of clear traffic? He's in the traffic. He's losing time here. His battle is not with Hugh Haycox now, it feels.
No, his battle was never with Hugh Haycox. I believe it was with Robert Nash and Kevin Parrish, but I believe he's lost that battle as well, because the aggregate down to Robert Nash is 24 seconds. Now, granted, it's 44. Oh my goodness, contact made with Bjorn Ackerman. That shovels Ackerman off. Is Del Olmo going to take to the pits this time? No, I don't believe he has front end damage, but that's going to lose him a lot of time.
And I don't think that was Javier trying to do an excuse me, I want to get by. That was more Bjorn trying to save the car, and Javier not realizing he's trying to save the car and trying to think which way he's going, almost like that confusion in multiclass, but he's managed to avoid it. There's the camera. I can't see, well, I see a lot of scraping on the front of that car. I don't think he's lost anything, but that's interesting. Has that affected his downforce? Has that affected his top speed even?
Well, what it's affected is his time to Robert Nash. 21 seconds between Del Olmo and Nash, and with 45 seconds in the lane average for these GTPs, he's going to be a good 15 plus seconds behind Nash when he comes out of the pits. So unfortunately for Del Olmo, that might even put him a lap down if he has any sort of issues in the pits. Now, as far as drivers who have befallen incidents around here, we've only had a couple. It looks like Ben Summers is coming into the pits now as well for the GTPs. We're closing in on the final segment for when the GTPs can pit. I think the farthest they'll probably be able to go is another 2 to 3 laps. So I would expect to see Del Olmo, Parrish, and Nick Facciolo, our last drivers in the GTPs, to pit relatively soon.
Yeah, let's just hope they do go relatively soon, but we're not going to expect a no-stopper today. We'll be quite surprised, but one thing as well, if we look at Cameron trying to make his battle back up the field with Pablo Rangel in front, who has not pitted yet either. Behind him is Mickey Friesen, who, again, has not pitted. This is the stage of the race, Adam, I like to call the unknown, because now we're over the usual 40 minutes in IMSA Vintage races, and some of these drivers aren't used to the hour if they're new to the series, and also this is the first time Willow's been an hour-long race, as Rangel goes to the side, and I think he just let Cameron lie because he realized the situation. Yeah, this is an unknown factor for Willow Springs right now, because we don't even know what this is going to happen. Track is now 86 Fahrenheit. If you want that in Celsius, that's gone up 3 Celsius so far since the start of the race.
Yeah, 10 Fahrenheit. So that's a huge, huge swing for these drivers. And you were asking earlier on whether or not you prefer lightness or whether you prefer tires. With that heat swing, you definitely prefer tires, especially in the GTOs where they're worried about that front tire grip. It's just all understeer around this particular track. So very, very, very tough stuff for these drivers. There you see there's a pack with Mickey Friesen, Pablo Rangel just coming into turn 1 right now. Friesen trying to make his recovery, but remember, he has yet to pit. So unless he's been saving massively, which, I mean, I guess he could have been ever since he had that incident. He hasn't been driving particularly quickly. He still has to make his pit stop.
Well, the back of his car says box of neutrals, and unless he was utilizing the box of neutrals and slamming that thing into neutral for half the time, I think he's got a pit still, and it'd be interesting to see as we hit the 14-minute mark what could happen. He's just being careful around Pablo Rangel. We've seen a couple of drivers already come in for incident limit drive-throughs, and some drivers close to that. I'd be really curious to see on that subject. Remember, Noah Lundberg, he had to take a drive-through. And look, Mickey Friesen, is that another off-track? How close is he? Corbin Pollock had a black flag. That sounds like that's for incident points as well.
Kevin Parrish throws in the white flag, so he comes back from his second position and down into 5th right now, and he just hits his box. Javier Del Olmo still has yet to take his pit stop, but Craig, I gotta tell you, the undercut really worked out today. That overcut strategy is going to possibly lose Del Olmo a lap here.
Yeah, definitely. And in fact, you look at Matthew Cockerham as well. We had no one to really compare with. When everyone else around that battle Matthew had in the start of the race, they've gone. We can't see if that worked. But for other drivers, can absolutely see it. There goes Kevin Parrish. He comes by. Now, that looked like it was a pit stop, not a drive-through, and it was correct. It was Corbin Pollock in the GTOs who had the drive-through. In finally comes Javier Del Olmo. It has been a while we've been looking at the pit lane. Mickey Friesen finally got past Pablo Rangel. But again, is he fuel saving? If not, he's going to go down a lap. He's 40 seconds behind Timothy Reed, who hasn't pitted. He's about 10 seconds behind Andreas Schuster, but he's a lot of time behind Noah Lundberg. Lundberg had pitted, but Lundberg had to take a drive-through. He still has to pit.
Now, it's interesting to me, and maybe I missed this somewhere in the chaos, but Seamus Power, who was tucked in behind Hugh Haycox and trying to close on him for the lead, has now fallen to 3rd position, 4 seconds behind Robert Nash. When I go take a look his lap times to see what may have happened, but I believe he did. It was his last lap that had a slow lap, so we're going to take a look at what happened here. And this was actually coming out of the final corner. Here we go on the replay. And he swings it way too far outside, and look at him lose it across the front straight and has to try and recover. My goodness, that lost him 10 seconds.
Yeah, if I'm him, I would have just kept going straight. Not into the pit, but I would have just kept going straight, because it almost looked like, because he tried to fight it back on, that's what caused the car to go and completely buck out as well. And just buck out to the right like it is a donkey. And we are at Willow Springs, so that wouldn't be a surprise there. But Doug Cloud now continues on. So Seamus Power, he's got a big battle up ahead now. I don't think he can get 5 seconds in 11 minutes. Doug Cloud continues his fight. He's on the back of the Pablo Rangel, Mickey Friesen battle, but again, Doug's pitted. He'll get these positions later. He just has to be patient. But behind him is Yuri Geisen. He pitted super early.
Absolutely, yeah. He pitted 20 laps ago for Yuri, so his tires have got to be screaming. Absolutely. So Doug Cloud's going to try and find his way around. Gets a little bit hung up. Looks like P6 in the GTOs. Ben Summers? No. It's Nick Melorano, who also had a similar incident to Seamus Power, just now recovering back on track. There we see him in the background. So Doug Cloud right on the back of Pablo and going to take to the inside of turn 1. Is Pablo going to fight this? The answer is absolutely.
He's going to fight it, but I think Doug also realized he couldn't make it, so he backs out of it. Not what you want when you're trying to make another recovery drive in the race. Won't be able to make a move up here with the Lego-inspired car. That Rangel has. What a dive from Doug Cloud! I can't believe he's made that stick, and he gets ahead.
Yeah, I think Rangel was just full-on respect to Doug's move and just let him go. Here we see Lundberg and Kundelis. Kundelis has yet to pit. We're under 10 minutes to go. I didn't think it was possible for any of the Audis to come through on fuel, just with the amount of straightaway that we have at this course. I still don't think it's possible, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe Kundelis has been able to hit a number that we don't expect. He's definitely duking it out with Lundberg, so if he's trying to hit a fuel number, he's not being super convincing about it. But remember, this is the battle for 2 of our championship leaders, but one of them hasn't pit yet.
Well, yeah, one of them hasn't pitted yet, but remember, Noel Lundberg took a drive-through. He hasn't taken a proper pit stop, and that would have saved a bit of fuel, because you go in the pit lane, they don't have a pit limiter, they have to be super light on the throttle, so he would have saved a bit of fuel just by not going full throttle on the straight, and that could help him, and you can see he's just trying to start the pull. I reckon Kundelis is fuel saving, because he allowed Noel Lundberg to get really far ahead there. Side by side they go, JP Ramos is behind. Yeah, Lundberg's not saving, but Kundelis is definitely.
So Kundelis falls back just a little bit into the tire tracks of Lundberg. Neither of them take to the pit lane. It's going to be 3 wide here with Silvernagel streaking his way past David Finch. Silvernagel on a recovery drive himself. Right on board with Kundelis as he tucks in behind Lundberg. And we'll listen to see whether or not he has any sort of lifts around here. 8.5 minutes to go for these drivers of all of our GTPs have pit, but of our GTOs, Timothy Reed, our current leader, Romain Bello, Arturas Kundelis, Ian Haycox, and Pablo Rangel have yet to pit, as well as Mickey Friesen.
And remember,
Haycox comes to the pits.
Haycox come to the pit. That's Ian Haycox, not Hugh Haycox. Don't worry, folks. In the GTOs. Now, you would think with Kundelis having all that damage on the front, that's probably why Lundberg got by, but with all that damage, you would have thought that Silvernagel just comes back onto the track very dangerously in front. You would have thought that Kundelis would not be able to save the fuel, carrying that much damage on the front, because when you look up ahead, it almost looks like the front left is completely gone.
Yeah, absolutely. We take a look at Mickey Friesen here. Second position in the championship, currently in 7th and has yet to pit. His championship rival, Arturas Kundelis, in 4th position, also has yet to pit. Friesen is about 23 seconds behind Kundelis, so they're not battling for position on track. But both of these drivers have to be consistent from here on out to the end. And the real question is, can either of them make it on fuel, or are they going to do a quick dive and dash for a quick splash of fuel to try and make it to the end, but they're losing time relative to their other drivers on the raw just tire difference because it's gone up 12 degrees since we've started the race.
Yeah, we're at 88 Fahrenheit now, 31 Celsius. And as you see, Roman Bello starts to pull away and try to catch up to the back of Timothy Reed. Bello's in a really good spot because he has the slipstream. I did not know this was possible. Maybe the drivers know something we don't know, and that's what we've got to hold on for as Bello continues on. I'm just wondering, though, Adam, even if they are short, the splash and dash now would just be suicidal. Maybe some of these drivers, like Doug Cloud, realized it, and maybe that's why they probably took half the fuel. And that's why Doug, with no offense to Doug, was up the front of the field for quite a while, took less fuel, so he took the pit stop, meant to get fresh tires. It could be the work.
Doug Cloud trying to make his way around Mickey Friesen. If Mickey Friesen's going to the end, this is a battle for position. A little bit of contact there between Doug and Mickey. Nothing untoward per se. Mickey Friesen a little bit grumpy about it on the radio, but Doug looking to the inside. Yeah, Mickey's defending this position like he means it. Honestly, Craig, I think these guys might be trying to go to the end, and if that's the case, Noel Lundberg is only 2 seconds off of the outright lead, and he's going to have to do it on raw pace.
I wonder if there's a record for someone technically winning with a no stopper but taking a pit stop, because Noel Lundberg might be doing that today, and that could be very interesting. Pablo Rangel comes into the pit, so let's start crossing them off on the list, because now we're down to 5 cars that have not yet to pit. Could be interesting. And Hugh Haycock, could you stop it, please? That's half a second slower than your qualifying time. Still 9/10 slower than the pole position time. What a lap that was.
Off track was Timothy Reed up in front of Noel Lundberg. Lundberg diving to the inside of Romain Bello for second position. Timothy Reed's tires look like they're done, and Romain Bello cries, and he falls into the pits. So now Lundberg and Reed are the last ones left alive.
Last ones left. Can the last man please turn the lights off though when they come in and out of the pits? Timothy Reed is now just sipping on that fuel. 4.5 minutes. And I'll tell you what also could factor into this, Adam, the position of Hugh. And if Hugh is going this fast for this long, that could be interesting, because that could throw I don't think it's going to throw an extra lap looking at the average, but it could throw out where he overtakes them, and that could cause an issue. That's another one to look out for.
Romain Bello exiting right to the racing line to take turn 1 with fresh tires. And I will say, I just took a look back at the replays, Craig, and Noel Lundberg did take a full stop. So I believe this battle for Timothy Reed and Noel Lundberg is the battle for the win at 3 minutes 50 seconds. If Timothy has done the fuel work, he's still got about 3 laps to go. He's very slow right now. And here comes Timothy out of the final corner. Is he headed to the pits? No, but look at him. He is absolutely lifting, and Lundberg is going to streak by. There's nothing that Reed can do with the fuel position that he's in. Reed is definitely going to the end based upon what I'm seeing, and Lundberg, with his pit stop, has taken the lead.
He's taking the lead, but Arturus is behind. And we got to go back to this, though, because this is a little bit of a traffic. We'll talk about that in a moment. 3 wide as Cockerham goes through. Doug Cloud trying to get past Mickey Friesen. Friesen has yet to pit, so Cloud goes straight on through. And Friesen got a bit too wide there. Mickey, please come back to the track. He does. They hold on. That looked a little bit chaotic there for a couple seconds.
So Friesen also looks like he's going to the end. So he's going to try and just hang on there. Doug Cloud now on the back of Kamenin, going to try and get himself up into a top 6 position, possibly a top 5, because Romain Bello's only 2 seconds up the road. So Doug still has a top 5 left in him. 2 minutes, 40 seconds to go in this race. As we take a look at Arturus Kundelis in that 3rd position, he still hasn't pit either. He's got a 1.5 seconds up to Timothy Reed for 2nd position, and him and Reed trying to do it on fuel. 2 minutes 20 to go. Are either of them going to take to the pits? The answer is no.
The answer is no, and I'm looking where Hugh Haycox is. He's right behind them. So he's going to get by them once. They're going to have 3 more laps to go, and so are these guys as well. Doug Cloud continues his battle on Cameron, and we got to keep his eyes on Mickey. He might be able to get past Bello later on in the race. JP Ramos will come by shortly. Hold on, not an opportunity right now, but you can still see that Cameron has a little bit of damage from that tap earlier in the race. Doug won't be able to make it right now, but that calm face, I know it doesn't look like it, Adam, that calm face is starting to get serious.
Absolutely, a little smile on his face. Doug loves duking it out with other drivers. They've got third place of Seamus Power in behind them. They're going to come through, and you can see Doug took a look at Cameron. Cameron sliding through the corner. Doug's definitely got better tires than Cameron. He's going to have to make use of them around these corners, but they've got traffic to deal with. Doug dipping those right tires. Wow, look at that. He's using the rise in the road to kind of clip his tires to ease him into that corner. But here is Hugh Hay. He comes off of the final corner, and it's going to be, I believe, 2 to go this time around. Yeah. He crosses the line with 104 to go. So he's got
Reed's in the pits.
Reed's didn't make it.
And that could be unsafe. That could be unsafe. We have to keep an eye on that. That could be unsafe because he was on the gravel. He's gone for the splash and dash. Sorry, Adam. He's gone for the splash and dash, and that could be it. Mickey Friesen looks like he's low on fuel as well. They haven't got an extra lap due to Hugh's driving, but again, because of where Hugh is, did that throw a little spanner in the works, I reckon.
So Arturas Kundelis, the last GTO, along with, well, 2 GTOs, Kundelis and Friesen, both battling for the championship right now. Kundelis in 2nd position, Friesen in 8th. So very interesting as we see Doug Cloud trying to make it around the outside of Cameron. Is it going to work this time around? Cameron laid on the brakes. Doug laid on the brakes. Cameron's able to hold on to it, but he gives room to Doug Cloud. But we got to go to Hugh Haycock because he's going to take the white flag this time around. There you see him coming out from behind Kevin Parrish. Craig, he's lapped up to 5th at this stage. Hugh Haycock's with an absolute tear right now. White flag lap for him, but look at this. The battle between Doug and Mickey still side by side, and they've got Yuri Giesen tucked in behind them as well. Doug trying to make this pass. He's got to get it done this time around. He's got to get it done the next couple of corners.
Any more hits, and Doug Cloud may have to have a shotgun ready waiting with Cameron because they've been banging this and clanging those cars the last couple corners, and you can just see Hugh Haycock though have a few corners left to go as he comes on by. These guys are going to get one more lap because they won't have Hugh coming by them. Here he is on the final corners. He's going to take the victory, it feels like, with pretty convincing fashion. Did you say he lapped everything up to P5?
Correct. And Doug Cloud off track, unfortunately, so he's going to fall out of that battle with Cameron and Friesen. But Hugh Haycock's absolutely commanding victory today. He got the lead early and did not look back. He's going to come off the final corner and take the win here. I can report that Arturas Kundelis did go around, and so he's going to do it on fuel today. So he's going to win the sip and save reward if he makes it all the way to the end. Robert Nash finishes in 2nd position for the GTPs. And Noel Lundberg is going to be the next driver in the GTOs. He's going to be the one to come around. And Noel Lundberg, ever since the drop of the flag, he took that lead and he did not look back either. Only 2.5 seconds over Kundelis at the end. But Noel Lundberg takes the victory, and Arturas Kundelis, with no stops, makes it all the way to the flag in 2nd position. And it's going to be Andreas Schuster who's going to come home in a very, very distant 3rd from Lundberg and Kundelis. Oh my goodness, Craig, what a race we had today.
Yeah, I can confirm as well, Mickey Friesen did indeed also no stop as well, due to the fact that he got lapped beforehand. But what an absolutely topsy-turvy race in the GTOs. Not a lot happened in the GTPs, which I thought was quite surprising. But after that those early accidents.
And that's going to take us directly to the results here of the race. Some of the lower positions still completing, but we got Hugh Haycock as the winner. Commanding victory for him over Robert Nash today. Seamus Power made a mistake in the final stint that drops him back down to 3rd, 30 seconds off of the lead. Javier Delomo, another consistent day for him, puts him in 4th position with Kevin Parrish in 5th. The first driver 1 lap down. What a drive from Hugh to lap everyone up to 4th. Then we got Matthew Cockram 2 laps down in 6th position with Nick Mellerniano. Nick Facciolo Lance Simon and Ben Summers rounding out your top 5. And then we got JP Ramos, the last driver who didn't have major issues, in 11th, with David Finch, Brendan Lim, Thomas Silbernagle, the last of your finishers. The rest of the GTPs did not finish.
So we'll look at the GTOs, and we saw Noah Lundberg making the victory work, and just behind him, Arturas Kundal is +5 on the day with a no-stopper, followed by Andreas Schuster, who will be third, with Timothy Reed in 4th. Roman Bello will be 5th, and Urian Cameron will feel a little bit outdone there in 6th, and Mickey Friesen even more outdone. Lead to 7th. He no stop though. That was a good recovery. Doug Cloud needed to do 2 recoveries, could only do 1 in 8th, and Yuri Geisen will be 9th with Nicholas McCannels in 10th. As we get to the second page, Ian Haycox is going to be a lap down, and Pablo Rangel and Miki Tupula as well with Fulton Pollock. Bjorn Ackerman will be 2 laps down in 15th, with Josh Brain in 16th. Michael Hayes will be 17th, and then it's Austin Powell in 18th. Philip Lake and Sam Skogard retired early, and on the last page, Charlie Needham never took the start. And that is all she wrote, Adam.
And that's going to be it for us today. Thank you to the team, Craig, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race for IMSA Vintage is going to be Long Beach. That's July 18th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here on your screen. We hope you've enjoyed joining us today as much as we've enjoyed bringing this racing to you, and we hope to see you back again soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
Wow.